welcome everybody. I am so grateful. It's very nice to see you all. Thank you all for coming and helping us celebrate Sprockets' 10th anniversary. We're really excited to be here today, and we just have a small program that we're going to now run through and have some different people share their perspectives on Sprockets. But before we do that, we have a short video we prepared that we're going to show. Is that correct, Aisha? So just a quick video and then we'll get into a short program. And so, maybe I didn't say before, I should say, I'm Erik Skold, I'm the director of Sprockets. And Sprockets is a network, and so we wanted to invite some different people up to share different perspectives on Sprockets, and so we're going to do a little bit of that now. And I want to start with Schlieu, who works for St. Paul Public Schools Community Education and has been a long-time Sprockets leader, and is going to start us off with a land acknowledgement. Thank you, Wei.
Thank you for this moment. I just wanted to say that we are on Dakota land. And all across this country, we are on stolen land, which is why it's important to do land acknowledgements, why it's important for us to keep the connection between Indigenous people and their home at the forefront of our thoughts. On Monday and Tuesday this week, the Tribal Nations Summit took place. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland tweeted, "Until now, a voice like mine had never been at the table. Today, I proudly wore my mocks to the White House as I joined the President and fellow cabinet members for the first day of the Tribal Nations Summit." So of course this reminded me again of how important it is to have representation, to be seen, to be included, to be valued. So I wanted to uplift another Indigenous person who is the first and our current Indigenous U.S. Poet Laureate, Joy Harjo, from the Muskogee Nation. I'm going to read her poem, Remember, which she said is about inspiration can be found all around us. And so I hope that sets the stage for today. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point in time. Remember sundown and giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth, whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origins of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is, remember.
Thank you, Wei. So I also want to invite next up Georgina Chinchilla. Georgina is a longtime youth worker and leader within the Sprockets Network. Georgina has done direct service youth work with the Peace Corps and the Girl Scouts of the Minnesota and Wisconsin River Valleys. She's also held fundraising roles with Think Small and the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. And currently, Georgina is the executive director of ComMUSICation, where she and her team work to amplify young voices and cultivate skills for success through equitable access to music, collaboration, and opportunity. Please join me in welcoming Georgina.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you for allowing me to share my personal experience with Sprockets and at my organization. Like he said, my name is Georgina Chinchilla Gonzalez, and I'm the Executive Director of ComMUSICation. Like perhaps many of you, I fell into youth work. It was at a time in my life when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I found myself serving as a Peace Corps volunteer, teaching English and leadership and life skills to girls and young women in the Jordanian desert. When I returned to Minnesota, I knew this was what I wanted to do. I wanted to continue to support young people in developing the skills they need to be successful, but I didn't know how to articulate this goal. I didn't know that this was a recognized field of work with research and best practices and specific ways to measure impact and outcomes. It was thanks to the Sprockets Network that I was able to name these things. Through Sprockets, I learned about youth program quality, the importance of ensuring young people are spending time in programs that meet their needs, where they feel safe, welcome, and included, and where they can build community. And that has been foundational to the work I've done ever since. Through the network, I've met many like-minded folks who are also working to ensure young people have access to the experiences and resources that they need, and who have become close friends. And it is thanks to the Sprockets Network that I recently achieved a lifelong dream of leading an organization whose mission has a positive impact on youth at St. Paul. So thank you, Sprockets, Eric, Jocelyn, Aisha, Zong, all the youth work staff and volunteers who participate in the network for making me a better youth worker and for enriching my life. I recently attended a conference that brought together organizations from across the country with missions similar to our own. At this conference, many of the conversations revolved around how to center young people's voices in our programs, how to be culturally responsive in our programming choices, and how to move from teaching young people to be excellent musicians and instead focusing on helping them become better leaders. And I couldn't help but be struck about how much further along we are on this spectrum in St. Paul. And this we owe in large part to Sprockets. ComMUSICation has evolved to be a community-based, youth-centered, and culturally responsive organization, thanks to our participation year after year in Sprockets training and networking. We couldn't do this work every day without the support of the Sprockets Network, which consistently pushes us to re-examine our biases and to always strive to be better. The city of St. Paul is lucky to have a strong network of committed youth workers. I know all of you in this room and your organizations are working every day to make St. Paul's out-of-school time spaces better for our young people. As we continue this important work, I know we can count on Sprockets, so together we can improve the quality, availability, equity, and effectiveness of out-of-school time learning. Thank you for all you've done in the past 10 years to support our work and to make St. Paul youth programs great. Here's to 10 more years and all the great work that's to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Georgina. That was great. I really appreciate the work that you and ComMUSICation are doing. I appreciate all your contributions to the network, and thank you for sharing your thoughts today. Next, I want to welcome Catherine Penkert. Catherine is the director of St. Paul Public Libraries and has a long history with Sprockets, as evidenced by her great showing in trivia earlier. Catherine was actually a part of a small staff team when Sprockets was just a concept we were calling Learning in Cities. And Catherine did much of the original work to build and create the Sprockets Shared Data System. Catherine is currently a Sprockets Leadership Group member and my supervisor. So welcome, Catherine.
Thank you. Thank you. Jocelyn was saying, she was a little like getting back in the swing of being in front of a group, and I feel that way too. I don't think I've been in front of a group like this in quite some time. It is such an honor to be here with all of you today, celebrating 10 years of Sprockets and really more than 10 years of work. And as Erik said, I'm library director for St. Paul now, but I have a very long history. I was looking at this map, and I think my story starts like right about here. And I joined the city of St. Paul in 2008 when Carrie became director of the Second Shift Commission, and that opened a project manager position in parks, and that's how I came to St. Paul, leading such esteemed projects as the East Side Circulator buses, like the sign in the back. But I was thinking back to remembering when I came to St. Paul and what drew me here, and part of it was that this city was asking a really interesting question. That Mayor Coleman at the time, he was asking the question, and he was inviting the community to ask the question, what is a city's role in the education of our young people? And, you know, we think about, some people would say, well, schools, it's their job to educate our children. And other people say it's the family's job to educate our children. But we in this room, we all know that it's bigger than that. That the education of all of our children, and they are all of our children, is all of our jobs. And so we know that community has a key role in the lives of our young people. And that was really what was at the center of what became Sprockets, that we are all teachers and we are all learners. And that here in St. Paul, we have a vision for a city that is just bursting with places for people to learn, with different types of learning, art, science, nature, culture, technology. And we have a vision for a city where the adults who are working with young people are supported to do that work well. And that is the training and development, it's having the data and information they need, and it's having the connection and the community of practice to really enable them to show up as their best selves as they're supporting our young people. And I just think, I continue to think that is such a compelling vision and investment. And Georgina said we're lucky to have Sprockets in St. Paul, and we are lucky. And I think I'm proud because we choose to have Sprockets. And this has always been a community project, and the city and the school district and community organizations and neighbors and funders choosing to make Sprockets exist. So I want to just recognize everyone who's had a different role. So if you have been a community advisory team member at any point, raise your hand. If you've been on leadership team, raise your hand. Sprockets staff members, funders, youth workers, that this is always the village that Sprockets has always been about. And I just want to thank you all for the roles that you play. I really want to recognize by name Erik Skold, Jocelyn Wido, Aisha Mohammed, and Zongbang for their day-to-day work as staff leaders in bringing people together for that connection, for the training and development, for the support. Dennis and Kaneen, whose role was so critical to this ever existing and who continues to play a statewide leadership role in. And then now I have the privilege and honor of introducing our current mayor, Mayor Carter, whose vision of a city that works for all really continues to push forward the work of Sprockets, again, in making sure that this is a city that when we think about learning after school, learning in the summer, that that learning environment is working for all of our young people too.
Good morning. It is so good to be here, and I appreciate all of you being here, much more importantly than me being here. My name is Melvin Carter, and I get to serve as the mayor of the most incredible city on the planet. And I say that in all seriousness. And the way I know that St. Paul is the most incredible city on the planet is really simple. I grew up in St. Paul, and I've lived here all my life, with the exception of college. That actually helped me learn even more. I always tell folks that one of the most important lessons I learned in moving 1,000 miles away to go to college in Florida is that St. Paul is actually pretty cool. Because I took for granted growing up some of the things that are just an amazing part of who we are as a city. I took for granted growing up that every city must have a first-rate library system like we do here. I took for granted growing up every city must have this incredible network of parks and recreation centers. Every city must have a free zoo that families can go to. Every city must have like the arts and culture and diversity and all the things that we have to boast. But as it turns out, every city doesn't have what we have. And we take it for granted because it's such a part of the oxygen here. And you know that saying that like a fish doesn't know how special water is? We can be like that about our city sometimes. I know that this is the most incredible city on the planet because I grew up on every single part of this page. I grew up, I kid you not, and Marcus grew up here with me. We used to take the school bus to Hallie Brown Center for after-school programs in Club Room C every day after school growing up. We used to go, with Miss Mildred. We used to, have all these activities at our libraries and the recreation centers. I kid you not, I joke sometimes that when it was time to get in trouble, I look at my friends and say, are you kidding? Do you know what I have to do tomorrow? Like, we got a busy schedule with all these after-school programs and weekend programs and spring break programs and summer programs, and I'll try to fit in that trouble next week if I can, but we got a lot of stuff going on, and I got a lot of people counting on me. And that's the thing, I always felt that, because in the types of programs that you run,
Sure, I understand.
Siri doesn't understand. Thank you. In the types of programs that you run, I grew up surrounded literally every day, all the time, by adults who just believed in me, who believed in me in their program, and who would yell at me to get out the street if they saw me in the street, after school or on the weekend. I was able to form lasting friendships with friends my age. I was able to develop skills, and whether that serves as hobbies or part of the things. I was in an after-school program that taught storytelling, and some of the folks who were in that program with me joke to this day that I'm still telling stories and using those skills that we learned. And so I say all that to say that as we talk about public safety, as we talk about education, as we talk about economic empowerment, as we talk about literally all of the things that we ambition as a community, as a city, for the future of our community, one of the reasons this conversation is so important is because you get down the road of anything we want for St. Paul, and it leads very quickly to our ability to prepare our children for the future. Everything we want for St. Paul starts and ends with our ability to prepare our children for the future. And as director, thank you. And one of the things that drives me crazy, in the role before this, I served as executive director of the Minnesota Children's Cabinet. In the role before that, I was on the St. Paul Promise neighborhood, found in the St. Paul, or on the St. Paul City Council, found in the St. Paul Promise neighborhood. And because I've got some experience in that question, what's the city's role in education? Every now and then somebody will ask me this question. They'll say, hey, listen, what's one thing that we can do? Mayor, what's one thing we can do? Director Carter, council member, what's one thing that we can do to fundamentally change the game, to fundamentally improve the outcomes, to fundamentally improve the road ahead for our children, for low-income children, from black and brown children, for all of our children in our community? And I've come to the conclusion that the one thing that we can do that would be most powerful to help our children succeed is stop pretending we're looking for only one thing that we can do to help our children succeed. You have children who you know, who you love, who you feed, whose names you know, whose eyes we see before we go to bed. And for those children who we love, the question is never what's one thing we can do. For the children we love, the question is, what's everything we can possibly put in front of them that can boost their ability to succeed? that can boost their chances for the future. And what Sprockets is about loving every single child in our city. And one of those after-school programs was the Martin Luther King Center track team. And I developed a love for track at the King Center and at Central High School, and ended up paying for college for me. All because of an after-school program. All because, and it wasn't that I remember being about 7 or 8 and somebody saying, and just being and after we roller skated, somebody said, who wants to join the track team? And it was the next thing to do, because my parents weren't there yet. And one of the things that I learned running track, and anybody who runs will tell you this, and Catherine's heard me say this because I say it to our cabinet quite a bit, is that anybody who's run knows that a relay team with 4 really fast runners loses every time to a relay team with good exchanges, who knows how to work together, who knows how to deal with transitions, who knows that this thing has to be greater than the sum of its parts. And that's what Sprockets is to me. It's us saying it's not just good enough. It's not good enough for us to do all this stuff as a community for Melvin. It's not good enough for us to do all this stuff as a community for the children who love to play with the ball or love some sport. We have to figure out how to meet every single child in our community where it sits, where they land, where they are right now. Whatever that means. It's starting there and building forward from that space. One of my favorite things about Sprockets is the history of its name. And I remember Mayor Coleman always saying, and if you see him, don't tell him I gave him any credit for anything, please. I'm kidding. He's a good friend and a great mentor. But I remember him saying, we got this name from the young people. We got this name from the young people who we engaged. And we said, what do you want to do? What should it be? How should it feel? And the young people kind of put this in front of us. And that's at the core of what we're doing as a city. That's what I believe Sprockets is. That's at the core of one of the things we're doing as a city. I was doing an interview just yesterday, and I was bragging about how we eliminated late fines in our public libraries. And they said, oh, this is amazing. That's such a good idea. And I said, you're missing the point. It wasn't my idea. I'm not smart enough to come up with that. This is something that our frontline librarians brought to us. It's something that we've heard from library users, from community members, brought this forward. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. And that's what I love about Sprockets. It's about making sure that all of our young people have the type of opportunities that I had as a young person. It's about making sure that we're thinking together in this room beyond just our programs, but to a city of young people, a city of need, a city of promise, a city of potential, a city of opportunity. Because in the exact same way as if I were to tell you that Apple stock or IBM stock or Facebook stock or any other stock was going to explode if you invest in it, we believe in the limitless potential of our children, right? If I told you a stock had unlimited promise and potential for the future, we'd trip over ourselves to invest in that stock. Well, let me tell you, I'm here, and our mantra lately has been bet on us. We're betting on us every chance we get. We're betting on us. We're betting on our children. We're betting on our families. We're betting on our students. We're betting that if we make a big investment in our young people, that our young people will make a big return to us. And that's what this is about. And that's why I appreciate you so much. That's why 10 years of you doing what you do, 10 years of the leadership you provide, I know that you're not just in it for the money. I know you're not just in it for the fame and the credit that gets, and the accolades that get heaped upon your shoulders for this work. And I know that it's hard work to do. But our city does not move forward in the way that we are without the work that all of you are doing. Our city does not move forward. And our city does not move forward in the way that we are without this space where we're coordinating and saying this work has to be at scale. It has to be population level work. It has to be deep investments in our young people. And it has to be greater than the sum of its parts. So it means a lot to me. I'm appreciative to the opportunity to be here with you to toast 10 years and to celebrate what's to come with us as we serve our young people, as we engage our families, as we listen to our communities for the next 10 years. I want to get out of your way because I know you have other stuff, more important stuff to do than listen to me just tell you how much I appreciate your work. But I wanted to share with you a proclamation, and it says this. Whereas Sprockets was founded on a passion for supporting young people through engaging in learning, collaboration, and prioritizing opportunity for youth in our community. And whereas Sprockets engages a network of more than 35 community organizations in our St. Paul Public Schools to offer an array of out-of-school learning time programs, which collectively serve more than 25,000 youth every year. And whereas Sprockets partners strive to improve quality, accessibility, equity, and effectiveness of out-of-school time learning for all youth in St. Paul, and through these efforts continue to lead locally, regionally, and nationally, serving as a model for other communities across the country focused on supporting youth. And whereas the Sprockets Network promotes cultural health and understanding, and remains committed to continuing to build an inclusive network of youth, parents, schools, organizations, and government entities reflective of our diverse community, focused on working together to achieve long-term impact. And whereas today we celebrate 10 years of our Sprockets Network organizations ensuring all youth in St. Paul have the opportunity to participate in meaningful out-of-school time opportunities that help them succeed. Now therefore I, Melvin Carter, Mayor of the City of St. Paul, do hereby proclaim Monday, November 1st, 2021 to be Sprockets Day in the City of St. Paul. Thank you for all you do. And Captain, good job on the trip.
Well, thank you, Mayor Carter. Thank you so much. The proclamation instantly becomes one of the coolest artifacts we have around the room today. And we appreciate the proclamation, but we especially appreciate your leadership here in St. Paul. From your support as a city council member to your current role as mayor, your commitment to St. Paul's youth and families has always been evident. After 10 years, you would think I would know not to go after Mayor Carter, but here we are. I just want to share some reflections on 10 years of Sprockets and share some gratitude. Sprockets is a big idea. It's an idea that we can have a shared vision with young people in the city of St. Paul where we work to support their success together and achieve that success. It's an idea that acknowledges there are many different visions of success and that young people deserve every opportunity to pursue their passions, interests, and have many different people in the community supporting them, just like Mayor Carter just described. One of my mentors, Nan Skelton, who helped create Sprockets, used to tell me that if you hang around long enough, you can see change. And now, 10 years in, I realize she is right. I have seen a lot of change over the last 10 years. Our history map here on the wall uses an analogy of increased pathways and connections between our institutions and our organizations. And I know now that the connections between our parks, our libraries, our schools, and our community-based organizations are richer and deeper than ever before. If you can find a copy of one of our first logic models for Sprockets on one of those tables over there, you will notice a large focus on academic outcomes with measures of standardized test scores. And we know that academics are still important, but we also know how important it is to support social and emotional learning, developmental relationships, and quality youth development. We have also seen big shifts around how we track and understand what's happening within our youth programs. We've been able to move away from counting heads and reporting on attendance to deeply reflecting on who our programs are serving, what the young people's experiences within those programs are, and examining the quality and impact of our work with youth. Not only are we collecting more and better information than 10 years ago, we are engaging more people in examining what that data means and how to use it to create improvements within our programs. This includes program managers, youth workers, and oftentimes young people themselves, all engaged in the evaluation and improvement of their programs. We've seen big strides in youth voice as well. Sprockets founding director Carrie Dennison-Canine helped launch the St. Paul Youth Commission shortly before Sprockets was launched. St. Paul Public Schools has created the Student Engagement and Advancement Board, and you all as Sprockets partners have continuously worked to give young people more voice and choice within their programs and leadership opportunities throughout the city. As we mentioned, very recently, 10 young people have been approved to sit on 5 of St. Paul's boards and commissions through our Youth on Boards initiative. This is a great partnered effort with Mayor Carter's office, St. Paul Parks and Recreation, and Right Track. We are excited to build upon that work and work with you all to expand youth voice and decision making across St. Paul. We have accomplished a lot, and Nan was right. If you stick to it long enough, you can see change. But as we sit here today, we also know that our work is not done. The murder of George Floyd and subsequent protests showed us that young people desperately want to be heard and to create change. They are well organized and they are ready. We need to be ready to listen to them and support them. The pandemic has taught us that relationships, connections, and collaboration between and amongst our organizations and institutions are crucial to responding to the needs of our community. Coming out of the pandemic, it will be these connections and our shared work that helps to provide support and opportunities for young people to reconnect, re-engage, and learn together in community again. I am proud of the work we have done together and excited for the work ahead. I'm excited to listen and dream with you all about what's next. I'm excited to continue to learn with you about innovative ways we can improve our programs and continue to support young people, and I'm excited for the next decade of our work. And with all that excitement comes a lot of gratitude. I want to first thank all of you. As many people have said, Sprockets is a network, it's a collective, and anything we have accomplished, it's because you have shown up. It's because you have lent your expertise, and it's because you have done the work. And of course, I also want to thank the Sprockets staff team, and thank you, Catherine, for mentioning them. But Jocelyn, Zong, and Aisha do a tremendous job of creating a welcoming environment and finding ways to build connections across our network. A network is only as good as our connectors, and Jocelyn, Zong, and Aisha do a great job. And I cannot thank everyone individually, but I do want to share a special thank you with Wookie Wea. Wookie is president and CEO of Youth Prize and has been a strong supporter of Sprockets. Youth Prize was created about the same time as Sprockets, and Wookie has been there the entire time, leading with a clear vision, challenging us with respect and support, and always centering young people. Wookie is retiring at the end of the year, and Youth Prize is in very good hands with Marcus Pope, but I wanted to be sure to say thank you, Wookie. Your leadership has been personally inspirational to me. So, thank you all. We invite you to stick around and check out some of the artifacts in the room. We'll play some pictures and other things. We invite you to take a cookie from our great partners at Cookie Cart. And most of all, we invite you to stick with us on this journey that is the big idea of Sprockets. Thanks, everybody.